Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program The Journey Begins Part 26. You join us in orbit over Duna as we are sorting out the science we gained on our last mission down to the surface. Just transferring it about a bit, rearranging it, getting up aboard those two main science containers on the Ptolemy before it's time to get Bob out and reset those experiments that need resetting. After that, it's time to start our manoeuvres. We are just using the fuel we're not going to use for our main burn to kick up our orbit a little bit, to get it into a higher orbit so that our main transfer burn takes up as little fuel as possible. We alternate between using the fuel that's left over on the lander and using some monopropellant, and eventually we get our orbit up to about 600,000 metres, and well, I'm afraid there we're going to have to stay for a while, because with the amount of delta V we have, we've missed our transfer window, so I'm afraid our astronauts are going to be stuck up there for quite some time. But I'm sure they'll be fine for the nearly 2 years. Yeah, they've got plenty to do. I think they took up a travel chest. That'll kill a couple of months. Anyway, let's go and see what's happening back on Kerbin. And back on Kerbin, we are blasting off from the KSC with one of our Mark III shuttles. I have made some tweaks to the design in the hope that that addresses some of the minor complaints we had last time out, but as we pitch over to begin our turn, the whole thing starts bobbing and weaving, which means we've probably got a bit more work to do. But anyway, today's mission is twofold. The first is to perform a crew rotation at the space station, and to that end, Donfert, Gwenby and Dottie Kerman are aboard, and they are going to take their turn manning and indeed womaning the space station. The second purpose is to just top up the research lab with science. It's not about to run empty, but it's getting a little lower than we'd like, so we're just going to go and deliver it a bit more science. So we plot our course, but then as we begin our burn, the shuttle begins to wobble again. So yeah, there's something I really need to pin down there. Anyway, the rest of the mission goes by without a hitch. We arrive nice and close at the space station, and we begin our manoeuvre into dock. Just nice and gently, slowly does it, and before too long, we are there and we can begin the mission proper. We begin by delivering that new science to the lab, and then we move on to juggling our crew around until everybody's in the correct seat, and then we are done, and it is time for us to depart. And I've got a bit of a bone to pick with this game when it comes to landing this particular craft, so for the return journey, we're going to switch over to the live commentary. Okay, so before we depart, I just want to check that we've got the right Kerbals on it. Kerdard, Bargel and Johnny. That looks good, let's go. So we want to undock from here. That's alright. Switch to the shuttle. Stability assist. RCS thrusters, thrust backwards, get a little bit of separation between the shuttle and the station, close our shield because we don't want to re-enter with that open, turn off the RCS and get ourselves pointing retrograde. I don't think I've ever done sort of like a space station back to the KSC flight live commentary before. I think I've always done it post-commentary, but what I prefer to do is get the periapsis from here down to 70,000, get down to about 70,000, maybe a little more, just to give us a little bit of wriggle room. Ooh, that's a little... just give us a bit more of a cushion there. Then circularize the orbit, and then deorbit from there. It just gives us, just bleeds off as much energy from the orbital craft as possible. Before we re-enter. Not that I think it's essential because of like the thermal load or anything, which sort of isn't really a factor as long as you do the re-entry kind of half right, with sort of standard unmodified KSP re-entry. More because you just have more speed to bleed off. And yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this shuttle at the moment because we haven't used an awful lot of fuel, so it's going to be pretty back heavy. I don't think it'll be behind the centre of lift, which is what really causes the problems, but it's just, yeah, having to bleed off that extra speed, you've got to keep the nose higher for longer, or whatever, and it just means it's much more vulnerable to flipping. So I'd rather just bleed off as much energy as possible whilst we're in orbit, and then proceed from there. Let's just start burning gently. So yeah, anyway, the Duna mission. I'm not looking back. I'm not quite sure what I could have done differently. I could have just planned for the longer stay. Anyway, of course, or could have used a bit more air braking when we, as I mentioned in an earlier episode. Could have gone for a bit more air braking when we arrived at Duna. Coming in a little fast there. Sorry, decelerating a little hard there. But then that probably just have taken more time. We'd have still missed sort of like the launch window back to Kerbin. Or the transfer window, I should say. There we go. But then I could have just gone more aggressively with the with that first landing down to Duna rather than using the air braking there. So, anyway, it's a collection of what-ifs, really. Hindsight being the wonderful thing that it is. Where's the KSC? There it is. Just heading into darkness. I think we should get down there before that happens, though. So last time I started my deorbit about sort of 9 o'clock, if the KSC was at 6. So I'm going to aim for about 10 o'clock, get the orbit down, get the periapsis down to about 20,000 meters, and I reckon that should be fine. So let's double check. Planet's moved round a bit. There's the KSC right at the bottom there. A little bit further. That should be perfect. And now we can commence our deorbit burn. As I said, down to as close to 20,000 as I can get it. And then we are on our way home. 20... That will do nicely. Let's get ourselves pointing prograde. So we get a bit of lag there whilst doing auto saves. So we're sort of pointing the right way for the oncoming air. Because we... I'm not going to try and land this thing backwards. One of the reasons I'm actually doing this sort of live commentary is I almost consider I've got a bit of a score to settle with the game. Try and get this thing landed properly after the not a disastrous attempt last time, but yeah, kind of got. Well, we landed in the ocean. Let's not gloss over it too much. Also, I wanted an excuse to stretch the series out a bit longer, and so yeah, now I have one. So lessons for you, kids. Aerobraking is your friend, and be careful what you wish for. How are we doing? I am going to start time accelerating ourselves forward. The other way I normally try and sort of calibrate my approach is I'll keep it pointing prograde until I can see this bit of the ocean, and then I'll click stability assist, and that'll just gradually raise the nose as we get closer and closer to the KSC. So wait until that little bit of ocean comes across the horizon like that, and then click as I say, click on the stability assist, and it'll just raise the nose as we go around the planet. Or keep the nose in exactly the same place as the planet falls away from underneath us. Whichever is your preferred interpretation. There's the first sign of it, so we just go around a bit further, wait until we can clearly see it. Yeah, I reckon that's about right. And then we just watch as the nose slowly raises, speed still increasing. Our acceleration should slow quite a lot, and then we should start to decelerate before too long. On the update video I just published on Wednesday, there was quite a good suggestion, but sort of a suggestion I already thought of with regards to a possible continuation series of that, and that's to call any continuation series "The Journey Continues." But yeah, which I've kind of already had that marked out just in case I did a continuation series. So, well, great minds think alike, eh? I could do a trilogy, do a one where we go to explore a lot of planets called the Journey Continues, and then do a final one where we end up on finish by landing on Elu or what have you, and then call that one The Journey Ends. But I think at the moment my preference is to sort of take it in a different direction, do a series that's a little bit different. Maybe a full playthrough with contracts and that sort of thing. Maybe do a realism thing with realism overhaul and real solar system and what have you. How are we doing? I'm going to stop the time acceleration there, because I want to keep our angle of attack at about 45 degrees. I don't want to go much above that, because that's going to start messing. It's going to leave us in danger of flipping out, and as I said, I think we are particularly in danger of flipping out at the moment. With the fuel load as it is. But we seem to be doing alright. Everything's going well so far. Famous last words. So yeah, I could go for the full realism thing on the next playthrough, which would involve something like TAC life support. I mean, Christ, if I had TAC life support on this install, that Duna mission would have been an utter disaster. How are we doing? Slowing down quite nicely. 37,000 meters. So I could do the full realism thing, or I know, just do something with some of the colonization and habitation mods. I haven't really had a chance to really do justice to some of the mods I've got on this install as it is. Things like Interstellar and Near Future Construction, so I could do something that sort of shows them off to their fullest. Maybe get some of the other near future technology mods, or just look around for something I haven't even thought of. There's a world of possibilities out there. We seem to be slowing down quite nicely. I'm going to drop the nose even further. Yeah, and everything seems to be going well. 800 meters per second. Yeah, I think I would like to do something with TAC life support, though. Just add a little extra challenge, a little extra realism that wouldn't really go amiss. Yeah, we're kind of side on. Are we actually going in that direction? No, I think we are a little off center. I think that's a bit better. Oh, you want to try and turn back. There we go. Try and hold that. If you've got any suggestions for decent mods you'd like me to see me use for possible future series, then by all means leave a comment. There might be some really good ones I haven't yet come across. How are we doing? We're subsonic. I think we've almost slowed down a little too much, so I'm going to drop the nose. Try and keep our speed up a little bit. Let's try and get ourselves turned around a bit, because we want to be heading as straight towards the KSC as we can. It's wanting to yaw to the left a little bit. See if we can sort that out. Yeah, it's looking good. It looks like we might manage it this time. Still a little high up. We're not really into that thicker atmosphere. It's not kind of biting on the wings as much and giving us a decent glide slope. But apart from that, yeah, we are looking good, and we should be back at the KSC, well, before too long. Need to bleed off speed. Let's get those landing gear down. Try and keep ourselves lined up with the runway. Coming in a little hot. Just try and bleed off that speed. Oh, that's a little close for comfort. And just flare. Keep it flared. Oh. This really is not my best work, but I think we're going to get there. I think I need to look at that spring stiffness in that front landing gear, but let's try and keep ourselves on the runway there. Not the tidiest landing in the world, but we managed it in the end. So, yeah. I think we'll chalk that one up as a win anyway. So that's all for today, everybody. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Next time, of course, we will... well, I've got a couple more things to do before that launch, that transfer window for the Duna vehicle opens up. But until then, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.